Join me on a journey to the very bottom of the sea to an alien world never revealed before. The Mariana Trench is home to some of the strangest animals on Earth ever to be discovered. It's so deep that darkness dominates the trench. Stick with me and you'll find out what has been found in this plunging abyss. Number 15. Telescope Octopus. In a hunt for the unknown in the Mariana Trench, 6,500 feet down, scientists discovered the telescope octopus. The unique name comes from the way the octopus eyes protrude like a telescope. The eyes are said to provide a wider field of vision, allowing it to see all predators and prey clearly, as well as see through the darkness of its deep refuge. Another interesting fact about the telescope octopus is that its body is almost transparent. Cool, right? Too bad they reside so deep in the sea, making it impossible to get them without the right tools. Number 14. Barreleye fish. All of us know what fish look like, and you'd expect the same with barreleye fish. I mean, it's most probably just a normal fish with a fancy name, right? Well, you're certainly right on the fancy part, but this fish will blow your mind, since they live deep in the trench where everything's just darkness. They use their ultra-sensitive tubular-like eyes to search for silhouettes of prey. This is why they got their name barreleye. Now, before you conclude how cool it is, this 6-inch fish also has a transparent head. Yeah, you heard that right. I know I just ruined all the fun with this weird fact, but that's just how it is. You could just think of it as one kind of fish. Number 13. DUMBO Octopus. The Mariana Trench is the last place you'd ever think to find your Disney favorite, Dumbo Octopus. And here we thought the Dumbo Octopus was a made-up character to make kids giggle when they were sad. Well, the Dumbo Octopus is found deep in the blackness of about 9,800 meters. It has floppy ears, which it uses for propelling a deep set of eyes and 8 tiny tentacles. Despite the immense distance, this 8 to 12-inch octopus still maintains its graceful swim in the water and remains the most eye-soothing creature on the planet. Number 12. Comb Jelly. This may be the first time some of you hear or even come upon the word comb jelly. The comb jelly is an organism that's 10 to 20 centimeters long and 5 to 8 centimeters wide, and whose appearance has been said to resemble a two-tailed box kite with hard skeleton-like parts. Well, some actually thought they were soft-bodied, but we guess they were wrong. Do you want to hear something about the comb jelly? They don't have eyes, but rather other proteins called opsins, which they use to detect light. Second, they're able to regenerate not only their body parts, but also their brains. This shows there's not only one way of making a nervous system. And now, the fact that you were all waiting for. Humans can eat comb jellies. Fascinating, right? Even if you ever want to meet one of these, you'll definitely need a tour of the deep Mariana Trench. Number 11. Frilled Sharks. The frilled shark is one of the few remaining species in its shark family and is found deep in the Pacific Ocean. Their throat is ruffled with 6 pairs of gills, which tend to resemble collars, and they have a long cylindrical body of nearly 7 feet, with their fins placed far back on the body. It's an unusual-looking shark that spends most of its time in deep waters. They're active predators that lunge at potential prey, swallowing it whole no matter how large it is. Frilled sharks don't pose a risk to humans, as they're rarely seen by humans since they swim deep below the water's surface and live thousands of feet below the surface of the ocean. We should be glad that the Mariana Trench exists. At least we don't get to swim with the frilled sharks. Even though they're not a threat to humans, we're lucky that we're not close to them. I mean, imagine being swallowed whole? It's terrifying. Number 10. Goblin Shark. We can all agree that most discoveries made at the Earth's deepest point are unusual, not to mention strange. If you took a swim in the deepest and darkest point of the trench, which so far only 3 people have done, you'd find a nightmare that you'd wish was only in your dreams. They call it the goblin shark. As records go, this shark has the ugliest and sharpest tooth structure in history, and its mouth extends like a slingshot when hunting. It has an unusually long snout and pink skin that's almost transparent, displaying blood vessels. The shark grows up to 20 feet, feeding off crustaceans, cephalopods, and dragonfish. Because this shark lives deep in the trench, little is known about the species, and it's only a very rare occasion that it's seen, like in the case of a tsunami in Malibu that washed it to shore. Number 9. FANG-TOOTHED fish. The fang-toothed fish is among the ferocious hunters in the deepest parts of the Mariana Trench, using its teeth to do the worst. At first glance, you'll be convinced that you've seen a monster, but it's just a 6-inch fish with small prickly scales. They have a very small set of eyes on their heads, which have been compensated for by the unusually prominent lateral line, which help them sense the slightest movement and vibrations in the surrounding water. The most noticeable characteristic is the teeth, which by proportion are bigger than the body. Scary, right? It's a good thing they live deep in ocean waters. Number 8. USS Johnstone. The remains of this fallen battleship were first discovered in 2019, after scientists made a successful dive to find it. It's believed to be the deepest wreck to ever be found in history, at a depth of 6,456 meters in the Mariana Trench. This 115-meter-long battleship, apart from being messed up by marine life, all other parts of the ship were found to be intact. The search for the ship was like no other, since it was so deep that the vessel used to go down to find it could only fit 2 people, who brought back the news of its existence. Unfortunately, like the Titanic, recovering it proved futile, and the only survivors are the 141 crew members who survived the 327. Number 7. The ping-pong sponge tree. This name sounds silly given all the strange species discovered in this trench. But don't dismiss it just yet, because this tree will blow your mind. This thin, stalk-like organism is named by its look, which appears to generate ping-pongs. These ping-pongs have small hook-like extensions that catch prey as soon as it touches them and eventually devours them alive. Intense, right? As silly as it may sound, I had no idea how cunning a creature could be. Number 6. Benthocodon. This little delicate sea creature is unlike any of its kind. While most jellyfish are translucent, the Benthocodon isn't. It has a red-colored coating called the bell, which obscures the illumination of the organisms consumed by the Benthocodon, keeping it hidden from predators. Though it has a size of only 2 centimeters, the Benthocodon is found deep in the Mariana Trench, cruising with its approximately 1,500 tentacles. Its red color is quite adorable, as are its numerous tentacles. Number 5. Snailfish. These are soft, elongated tailpole fish that grow up to be 12 inches with loose and scaleless prickly skin. The name shouldn't fool you into thinking they're as slow as snails. As a matter of fact, they get the job done before you know it. This Mariana snailfish feeds off crustaceans and shrimp by sucking them up and using their mouths. By now, you should be used to the fact that most creatures in the Mariana Trench are translucent. And just like the others, the snailfish is no exception. Number 4. Mariana Sound. It's always in the deepest and unknown places that strange things occur. Back in 2014, in the deepest point of the Mariana Trench, the Challenger Deep scientists discovered unusual sounds that weren't supposed to be heard at all. The audio contained sounds filled with strange moans, low rumbles, and the occasional high-pitched screech, which had them confused about what it could be. These sounds that were heard 10.9 kilometers into the trench had every scientist giving their own conclusion to fit a reasonable explanation. I'm not a science expert, but I think it sounds both beautiful and haunting at the same time. Number 3. Giant amphipod. For a trench this deep, it's very surprising for creatures to grow into giants. Scientists discovered a giant flea like the megalodon, the giant of all sharks. Fortunately, Jason Statham killed it, so we shouldn't worry about the megalodon. This giant flea doesn't seem like much to us, given that we're bigger than it. But to other fleas, that's a different story. This growth phenomenon is called deep-sea gigantism. Number 2. Plastic bag. It's common to see plastic bags in the water these days, since not all people care about how they litter. But one plastic bag at the deepest point of the globe sure raises questions. How the plastic bag found its way there is still a mystery that's yet to be solved. We sure do need a Nancy Drew on this one. Could it have been washed to sea by rivers feeding the Pacific Ocean? All these don't make sense. Number 1. SEADEVIL anglerfish. Of all the discoveries made in this deep trench, this is the most interesting of them all. Even the name suggests that. This creature has the best adaptations that help it survive in the harsh environmental conditions in the deep waters. It has a large mouth and stomach and long sharp teeth to devour any prey it comes into contact with. It can also lure prey like crustaceans by using its antenna-like muscle protruding on its head, revealing light, which 9 times out of 10 its prey falls for. Another fascinating fact is that the male fusses with the female when reproducing and lives off her resources until sperm is produced. Sounds weird, right? Until next time, adios.